up, friends? Welcome in to Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com with Dan Courtwright. I'm Sean Kellerman. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday. Dan is still ruining the day that it's 88 degrees outside because the sweaters just remain in your closets.
You know me. I am a big sweater guy.
I do. Well, you're also a big sweater.
I am a big sweater also.
Yes.
I'm a sweater guy, and I'm also a sweater, which is a combination of things that shouldn't go together.
Yes.
Because I will, if it's the winter time, I'll throw on a sweater, but then I'll get inside.
Yeah.
Where it's like, a nice 70 degrees.
Turn the AC down to about 61 and
I know.
have everything.
But I love sweaters, and they're just collecting dust right now. I wore one this morning. It was like 58 when I woke up today. Took my dog on a walk. Man, I had the best outfit on. Then came into work, had to take it all off because I was just...
It's toasty one. We got about another week of warm, hot weather here before the fall will maybe actually arrive
tomorrow
for a while. I know it's
ridiculous.
Upsetting. Hey, we're not actually just talking about weather today on Rock Chalk Sports. We're going to talk about sports. We've got Taylen Kinney here in the opening segment. We touched on the recent addition to Kansas basketball for 2026-27 yesterday. We asked Kevin Flaherty about him, but a little bit of a deeper dive on the talented incoming freshman for next year. Kansas basketball here in the opening segment. In the next segment, we're going to hear from a couple KU football players, Emmanuel Henderson and Blake Herold, both of whom had big plays in KU's loss on Saturday to Cincinnati. 37-34, KU fell to 1-1 in conference play, and now you got to get UCF. You and I were talking about this a little earlier, Dan. UCF has a lot of question marks at the quarterback position.
Yes.
Kansas viewed as a small favorite. Certainly, this is a game that they need to win, but I want this to be a boring victory for Kansas. I want this to be like a 41-10.
Yes.
Sounds familiar to West Virginia. If we have something exactly like that, I'm good with it.
Yeah, it's not exactly a scoregami. I would be okay with that. Like that's what needs to happen. I think it is just a palate cleanse, right? You need to kind of get the bad taste that Cincinnati lost out of your mouth. You need to lay the wood on UCF. Then all of a sudden, you're going to Texas Tech, and that's a big game in Lubbock. Now, more than likely, Kansas is not going to be ranked in that game, but still going down to Texas Tech, probably arguably the best team in the Big 12 as of right now. So you need momentum going into that game, and then you got a bye week after that. So just be able to rest up. But yeah, this UCF game is going to be tough. This is going to be the first real road test, I guess. First time at least they're going to be in a plane. I believe they took a bus to Columbia. So a little bit more of a travel experience. We talked to Enrique Cruz actually today. He said all he did was just sleep on those long road trips. So that's you get everybody has their own thing. But
I cannot sleep on buses or on planes. I feel like you were the same. Yeah.
I took a 11-hour flight from Helsinki, Finland to Dallas, Texas. Didn't sleep for a second.
That's right.
It's horrible.
You had a great friend next to you.
I did. She was a lovely friend. But yeah, UCF
More
right
on
now,
that at a different time.
Right. But like you said, UCF, they have a couple question marks at the quarterback position right now. Taven Jackson and Ja'Cory Brown both have AC injuries. They're TBD as of right now. So Scott Frost said in his press conference. So we don't know if either one of them is going to play. They do have Cam Fancher, who has gotten a little bit of action this year. He's 5 for 9 for 32 yards. But again, going down to your third string quarterback isn't always ideal in terms of if you're going up against a Kansas squad. So yeah, I'm with you. I want this to be a boring game where Kansas beats the brakes off them and we just leave Orlando feeling satisfied.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if that happens 4-2, 2-1, like I've talked about, that's pretty good after 6 games. I mean, yeah, you want to win them all, and you hate losing the non-con game we lost, and you wanted to win that back and forth affair on Saturday. But if you're 4-2, 2-1, and then a big game at Lubbock, I think we'll be all right with that in advance of KU's second bye week. Top 10 Tuesday after we hear from some Jayhawks. Dan, what do we have today?
That's right. I'm doing a very special top 10. Thanks for bringing that up, Sean. They're always very special. You never say they're very special anymore.
I don't.
They're all special to me. I'm doing a very special one. It's kind of topical. So in recent news, Paul Feinbaum of ESPN, the SEC network, formerly of some Alabama talk show back in the day, he is debating on whether or not leaving ESPN to go run for office for U.S. Senate for the state of Alabama. So I decided to do my top 10 sports figures that I want to see run for office. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I got a lot of really fun names on there.
Current, former, doesn't matter.
Current, former, doesn't matter. They don't even have to be athletes, just guys who are affiliated with sports. Just a guy you look at and you go, he's got my vote,
Top 10 Tuesday coming up right around 4:35. At 5 o'clock, we're going to hear from Lance Leipold. His press conference yesterday spoke to media members in full, showing some passion, showing
Yeah.
some fight, and obviously some frustration in the program after the loss. That was going to happen no matter it was Kansas or Cincinnati who lost that game, but a good opportunity coming up Saturday night. We're also going to talk Chiefs. We didn't discuss that in much detail yesterday because we had a lot to pack into our 2-hour show, but want to talk about the dominant performance that the Chiefs put together on Sunday and knocking off the Ravens, a battle of then 1 and 2 teams. And then we're going to close things out by talking Big 12 football. Again, didn't have a chance to go over this in much detail yesterday, but we'll do a whip around the league, some final scores, some noteworthy things that happened in Week 5, and perhaps an early look at Week 6 as well. As yeah, KU now kind of up against it a little bit after losing a game at home to Cincy. Hey, let's talk KU basketball though. That was the big news on Sunday. One of the best things that happened this weekend, honestly, was Taylen Kinney announcing that he is going to come to Kansas for the 26-27 season. He is from Kentucky, and needless to say, the Wildcats wanted him, the Louisville Cardinals wanted him, but KU ends up plucking him with the help of a current Jayhawk.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Darren Peterson came out and said, or I guess it was TK who came out and said that Darren reached out to him and said, "Hey, look, come to Kansas, ball out for 10 months, and then go to the league." Basically, it's just like, "Hey, look at this as a stop," which we're okay with, right? I mean, we want Taylen Kinney to come here because it's kind of crazy as right now Darren Peterson has yet to play a single second for the Kansas Jayhawks, and we already know who his predecessor is going to be.
Well, he's already made an impact.
Absolutely. He's already made an impact. He's already recruiting guys. Taylen Kinney also making an impact already. That guy's not even on campus yet. He's in the midst of trying to recruit guys as well. We know Davion Adams is a guy who's really hot and really connected with TK as well. Trent Perry is another one. Tyron Stokes, who is obviously the number 1 player in the class of 2026. He said he's really going to try to get him to come to Kansas as well. So they can really build something special here in this next upcoming class. But I told you off air right before the show, I just watched like a 7-minute clip of Taylen Kinney Overtime Elite highlights, and
real dork stuff. I love it.
I know. I am amped up. Yeah. I was going back and rewatching and the kid. So I have a couple of different things that I just want to talk about here, just in terms of when we could talk about fit, right? And I don't know how his coachability. I don't know anything in terms of, you know, the way that I understand, you know, he's kind of a TikTok sensation. He has like 1 million followers on TikTok. He started the whole 6'7" thing, that kind of thing. But the kid's a damn good basketball player. I will give him that, right? The kid is great in transition. He's really good at finishing around the rim, which is exceptional for a kid who's his size because he's only 6'3", right? And he's a point guard, but being able to be a multi-level scorer like he is, and like what I saw in these clips from him, is really something you don't see in a lot of point guards these days, right? He's able to get to the rim and finish around big guys. He's able to use his momentum. He can get up and dunk the ball on people if he wants to, right? And he's really good at a pull-up jumper, which is sort of something you don't see. It's kind of faded into the limelight, right? We talked about this a little bit in one of our previous shows about how in college basketball now the 2-point shot is essentially worth more than the 3-point shot, which is basically saying, hey, either you score only layups or only 3-pointers. Tate Kinney's really good at the one dribble step up, you know, 12, 15-footer kind of
which
shots
is something
like that.
You really only see in the league, right?
Absolutely. So he already has that in his arsenal, and he's really good at it. He's also a streaky 3-point shooter. He's shooting about 33% in Overtime Elite, 27% in another three SSB. But he can be streaky if he wants to. If he really gets into a good groove, he can go on massive runs of 3-pointers. He likes to short arm them quite a bit, but at the same time, he's still a really good shooter. And then his passing is really good as well, right? He's got excellent court vision, able to see everybody out there. He knows the angles. He's really good on cuts and telling people when to cut. Just a facilitator, a natural born facilitator, but more so, he's a elite multi-level scorer, which is rare to see in a point guard these days. And we haven't seen that in a Kansas point guard in quite a while.
Absolutely. And there's only been a few guys. I mean, when you're talking about a point guard, KU's had a lot of great scorers.
Yeah.
And you need to have that. But they haven't had a lot of great scorers with size. And Kenny's not as big as Darren Peterson. He's
True.
6'3", 188. At least that's what he was at the overtime elite. Maybe a little bit wider than DP, but not quite as tall. But he's got more size than some of the great Jayhawk point guards. Now, we absolutely love kind of the undersized, under-recruited point guards
Yeah.
that Kansas had,
Like
namely,
Self had a type.
right, exactly, namely with Frank Mason and Devontae Grant. But then there were some other
Sharon.
highly recruited guys who were still undersized, like Sharon Collins and like Devon Dotson, who we love because they have the ability to get to the rim, draw contact, make something happen when nothing else is going on offensively. However many possessions you have in a game, yeah, you're going to run your sets some of these possessions, and Bill Self is as good an X's and O's coach as there is, and maybe in the history of the game. But a lot of times the defense doesn't break down, and there's 4 or 5 on the shot clock. You got to make a play, and that's why fans loved guys like Frank, guys like Sharon so much. Devon Dotson, one of my all-time favorite Jayhawks, not only would he do that, but he was so fast he would get past. But one thing these guys haven't had was size. Darren
Right.
Peterson, and one reason that we're so high on him is he's got the size, right? He can stroke it a little bit. Obviously, he can be a great defender as well, but he's going to be that guy with the ball at game point. And it sure seems like Taylen Kinney has similar skill set, similar ability to be that go-to guy. When you look at the roster, and actually before I do that real quick, some other noteworthy things on Tay Kinney. I mentioned he measured at 6'3", 188, really good size for a 1. He chose KU over, I mentioned Kentucky and Louisville, but also Arkansas, Oregon, and Indiana. And he came out and he said, hey, Coach Self told me I've got the keys, come here for 10 months. You know, this is going to be my team, that sort of thing. But he's not shying away from trying to get guys like Tyron Stokes and a couple
Right.
other names as well. We'll have to wait and see, perhaps even this week, if anything comes out
By the
on
way,
that front.
I did see a great article. It was on the Kentucky Sports Illustrated page. It said, Taylen Kinney announced his commitment to Kansas, and now he's already trying to poach Kentucky's #1 recruit in the class of 2026. It's like, yeah, well, you should be mad, right?
Yeah.
Because like I like being on the other side of this, right? Like if he were to have picked Kentucky, and then now he's trying to get all these guys that Kansas is hot on their tail. Like I understand that, but also it's like, look, Taylen Kinney, like at this point, he's already bought in. Like he's already bought in, and he's trying to get his friends to buy into Kansas as well, which I think is a huge thing.
Yeah, and again, Darren Peterson already making an impact.
Yeah.
You know, and we expect him to make a huge impact on the court for a KU team that's going to be ranked, you know, ridiculously low in our opinion, at least in the preseason. But from a roster standpoint, you're going to lose DP to the NBA. You're also going to lose Melvin Council. He's a senior as well. Those are kind of your top 2 on-ball guys. The third on-ball guy would be Ginyu Gala. He only has 1 year here also. So there go the point guards, right? They're going to be gone after this year. Marco Jackson, of course, has a few years of eligibility remaining, and we'll see how that goes. This is a guy who we know can play in the NBA at some point, but Kansas, first and foremost, knew that they have a big void to fill, and it's nice as early as it is getting somebody as talented as Kenny.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, looking at the roster, like you said, you're going to be losing a lot of guys next year, and there's even a good possibility you're losing Flory Badunga as well. So I mean, Tay Kinney honestly has to start recruiting guys, because this is going to be a big turnover year once again, right? I mean, if you have as many guys as we think are NBA quality caliber guys who are going to be going to the NBA, you need to kind of reload. So it's huge. But also next year is going to be another one of those years where it's going to kind of be led by the younger guys, right? I mean, you're going to see Cole Rosario be able to step up and presumably become a starter on this squad once everybody, kind of ships off. Once the Melvin Councils and the Jaden Dawsons of the world, once those guys wind up leaving, he's going to have to, step into that 2-3 spot. And with Elmarco Jackson, look, I'm with you. Like Elmarco, he's got an NBA skill set. He was a McDonald's All-American, 5-star guy, and just kind of was thrown to the wolves a little too early. I think it kind of took a little bit. It took a little bit out of him, I think, what he was thrown into, and then obviously dealing with the injury from last year. Not ideal, but I think Elmarco is going to be a big piece of this as well. It's going to be interesting to see, because I liked Elmarco on the ball being a point guard, but Tay Kinney coming in essentially being that point guard. Elmarco can obviously play the 2 spot, but I mean, if you need 2 ball handlers, for the class of 26, I think that that wouldn't be too big of an ask. It's just, look, this Tay Kinney kid kid coming in is just huge news. And it's so weird to already be talking about this, right? Because we have the number one kid, Darren Peterson, presumably number one overall draft pick in the NBA, and we're already talking about 2026, right? But at the same time, it's like that's the news of the week, and it's such a big get because it just goes to show you there's been so much talk about, oh, Bill Self has lost it, right? He's on his way out the door. His reign is over in the Big 12. Kansas is going to become a middling team. That's not happening. It's very abundantly clear that is not happening. You just got the number one point guard in the class of 2026. He's going to get 3 guys all within the top 50, top 100 to commit to you within a week of that. And you're just going to be churning out NBA player after NBA player. It's abundantly clear that these last 2 years were just sort of an anomaly, and the Bill Self reign is not over. So if you're tired of the Bill Self reign, you're going to have to keep on dealing with it for a little bit longer.
Darren Peterson and Tay Kinney, again, guys who we think during their time at Kansas are going to be the end of shot clock guys, the alpha type guys. And we mentioned some of the undersized guys that Bill Self has had in the past with Sharon and Dotson and Frank and all those guys. And they were dependent upon at the end of the clock. DeJuan Harris took a lot of flack, but the one thing that DeJuan really, I don't want to say didn't have in his skill set, but didn't execute very often was an ability to break down the defense and score at the end of the clock, right? So a lot of times those possessions where you otherwise end up with nothing and one of those other kind of alpha dog point guards was able to go in and score, well, with DeJuan, and we loved him in his time here at Kansas, obviously, you didn't have that as much. He was better on the defensive end than he was the offensive end, certainly from a scoring standpoint. And what happened was Kansas wasn't scoring as much because you had those possessions, as every team has every game, but then you weren't able to get a bucket, get to the free throw line. And that's another thing that Kansas didn't do well the past couple of years in general from a whole team standpoint, get to the free throw line.
Absolutely.
And end of clock, those types of plays are crucial, whether it's for stopping momentum or just finding a way to generate points. And I don't think it's going to be a problem with Peterson or Kenny. One last note from me on this regarding next year's Kansas basketball team, as we talk about, you're not going to have guys like Council and Gala and Peterson and Dawson. And there's going to be a ton of roster turnover, as there is. There won't be as much roster turnover, I wouldn't think, next year as there has been heading into this year. But you're going to have potentially, assuming these guys don't move on to the NBA, maybe one of them will have a fantastic breakout year and be a first round type guy. A redshirt junior in Elmarco Jackson and a sophomore in Cole Rosario.
Yeah.
Today's college basketball, sophomore, you're essentially a veteran, right? I mean, that is a dang good place to start. You look at the 2022 national title team, you had senior Ochai Agbaji on the wing, and then your other wings were juniors in CB and Jalen Wilson, right? So you had guys who had been in the program, and I think we're all really high on Rosario. Seems like whoever we have on the show, our guest always brings him up.
I know.
And then Paul Mbia could kind of slide into that starting role as well if he doesn't move on to the NBA. I think last year at this time we were certainly focused on, all right, what are we going to do from a roster standpoint in terms of turning this roster over, because we're going to lose, Hunter and DeJuan. Well, what happened was the season didn't go as planned. Everybody shipped out, and we got a brand new roster. I don't see that being the case. I see Kansas continuing to get top-tier talent, and I see guys who know that there's opportunity here. And it doesn't just stop with those guys I mentioned. I mean, Jamari McDowell is going to be back, and there's some other guys who can be impactful as well. But it's nice because we love doing that kind of dreaming, envisioning next year's roster and the year after that roster. Oh, what's it going to look like? And we haven't been able to do that as much in the time of NIL.
In the transfer portal.
And rev share.
Of course.
But now we're kind of seeing it a little bit to where it seems like there's natural progression for some of these guys. But the story, of course, is Tay Kinney coming on, and he's going to have the keys after Darren Peterson has the keys. Hopefully it's a season that is expected from Darren Peterson, and he is able to be the number 1 pick, and maybe he's even better than advertised. But it's nice kind of already knowing in September that KU is going to have somebody, the number 1 point guard in 2026, coming after him.
Yeah, and I mean, one more quick thing, and I don't want to harp on DeJuan Harris because he has done so much for this Kansas program. 2022 national champion, obviously. I believe has the most assists out of anybody in the Big 12, I believe, in the last however many years.
I don't know how many years it is. Obviously, he's second though all time to Aaron Miles.
Yeah, so second all time in Kansas. And again, I don't want to harp too much on DeJuan Harris because he was really good at what he was really good at, right? He was really good at defense. He was really good at facilitating. He wasn't a good scorer. It's going to be kind of a breath of fresh air knowing that for at least the next 2 years, you have a point guard who is a multi-level scorer who can facilitate the ball, who can get to the rim and get to the free throw line and put up an insane numbers on offense. So it's just a nice little refresher, and it feels good to kind of have that in your back pocket when you didn't really have a scoring threat at the point guard for so long.
Took some tough losses over the weekend. KU volleyball did sweep Arizona on Sunday, so that was a nice win, but a huge win for KU men's basketball getting Taylen Kinney, not officially, but unofficially
verbally committed
to Kansas for the 26-27 season. So really excited about that. We're talking KU football. We're going to hear from a couple Jayhawks who had good individual performances on Sunday, Emmanuel, Henderson, and Blake Herold. After this, you're watching Rock Chalk Sports on KansasNation.com.
This is Daniel Highshaw, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports here in the state-of-the-art Kansas Nation studios. Thanks for watching on KansasNation.com. Hey, we're going to hear from Blake Herold in a little bit. We're also going to hear from him later in the week. Media superstar Blake Herold. He spoke to the media just a little bit ago today, but we want to get through all of our post-game sound, so we give you that content. First, though, we're going to hear from KU wide receiver Emmanuel Henderson. Talk about explosive plays.
Yeah.
93-yard touchdown on the first play from scrimmage, and then a 75-yard touchdown a little bit later. A little strange in regards to those plays just because that's what you want, right? You want a touchdown, but also KU's offense was barely out there again, right?
No, I know.
It
was funny. We talked to Enrique Cruz today, and Enrique Cruz said those are the best kind of drives, but also it does kind of suck for the defense because the defense is probably like, man.
Yeah, I know. So that's
right now.
kind of a strange dilemma there, but hey, we're going to take that every time, and I think the defense will as well if KU's putting up touchdowns. E-Man, though, 214 receiving yards, 5 catches, and those 2 touchdowns. Let's hear everything he said post-game.
It was just the start of the game. We had a lot more to go. I was just, ready to continue to get back to work.
What are the emotions like for the team right now after a close loss like that?
We just all keeping our heads up. We just ready to get back to work and watch film.
What does it take to kind of move on from something like this in your experience?
Flush it. We got 24 hours. We flush it. Come back Monday, watch film, see what we need to clean up. Continue to get back to work.
You guys had a good amount of explosive plays. Just what do you feel like worked so well for your offense today?
I just feel like, JD can trust the wideouts, and when our name is called, any wideout can go out there and execute the play.
You guys are able to get out in space a lot. How much of that is, your guys' athletic abilities? How much of that is scheme? Just kind of what do you see from that?
I feel like anybody in the wideout room is athletic, and, anybody can go out there and make those plays that was executed today.
A few times where you guys got close to the end zone and ended up settling for field goals. What do you see on those kind of goal-to-go situations?
We got to continue to go out and finish, execute plays.
For you guys to be able to, mount that comeback in the fourth quarter, take that late lead and still finish the way that it is, just kind of what's the feelings about this one? Coach Leipold said that he's still kind of proud of the way that this team fought.
Most definitely. I love the way this team, we stay together. We don't blame it on nobody, we take the loss as a team, we're going to come back and continue to work.
What do you think this loss does for you, going through the rest of the Big 12 schedule?
Just going to fuel the fire, and, we ready to get that to work, and you feel me, to continue to get this thing going.
Well, how about Jalen today? I think 500 all-purpose yards. What did he show you?
Show me what he usually do. He's a great player. Everybody knows. You feel me? But yeah, he does his thing. We just go out there and execute our plays.
Looking at the next two.
What was Coach's message to you guys after the game?
Continue to stay together. It's a team loss, and flush it. We got 24 hours and continue to come back to work Monday and watch film and get better.
Looking at the next 2 games, on the road, is there some excitement with this group, playing at home so much now to build some momentum away from home?
Yeah, I feel like we ready to get back to it and, get ready for the next opponent.
That's Emmanuel Henderson post-game KU's loss to Cincinnati. Really emerging, Dan, as Jalen Daniels' top target. It's nice seeing some other guys, too. I mean, Bowden Gruen and Keaton Quebeca both had their best games as Jayhawks, but E-Man is becoming what he thought he would be, which is the number one.
Yeah, absolutely. And with 214 yards, 2 touchdowns, with a 93-yard touchdown and a 75-yard touchdown. I mean, like you said, he's turning into what we wanted him, what we expected him, and honestly, what we needed him to become, right? Because there was so much talk about, oh, hey, we got this Alabama kid coming over. Hey, he doesn't have a lot of stats, but we think he's pretty raw and he's got some good ability. But there still was a question mark around Emmanuel Henderson at the beginning, right? And we barely got to see any of him in that Fresno State game. And I remember thinking in that Fresno State game, like, man, Emmanuel Henderson has really got to become one of those guys. And that was sort of the Cam Pickett game, was that Fresno State game. And then really he has just continued to grow and become that number one. And you can see just the explosiveness and the speed that he has and just the natural instinct to be able to stack his man and play through, contact, right? Because he was a 5-star running back coming out of high school. So that he's able to run through contact and find those holes and understand that, hey, after the catch, like he knows exactly where to go. He's not afraid of contact either, which I think is a giant thing. So it's really cool to see him kind of coming into his own, because we knew he had the absolute raw talent to be able to do this, and to see it coming to fruition and finally being able to showcase it out on the field, I think is absolutely huge for Emmanuel Henderson. And we're going to continue to see this throughout the year. Now, granted, we're not going to see 214-yard games every single game. Hopefully we do, right? I mean, I would be certainly okay with that. I also want to see some of the other wide receivers obviously get some play as well. We saw Bryson Canty for a little bit. He had a catch for 31 yards, I believe. Should have had 2, but it was a illegal touching. Cam Pickett's been dealing with some things. So right now we're being really, really reliant on Emmanuel Henderson. Keaton Quebeca has done a good job of stepping up into that role as well. We actually heard from Keaton Quebeca earlier today. We're going to hear that later in the week. But Emmanuel Henderson has just really become, I think he's exceeded expectations, right? I mean, if I'm looking at this in terms of statistical and what we thought, I guess, the ceiling and the floor would be, I think he's at the ceiling right now.
Another guy on an uptick, Blake Herold on the defensive line. KU did a really good job in the second half getting to Brendan Sorsby after struggling to do that in the first half. Herold, the only man so far to sack Brendan Sorsby in 4 games this season. Let's hear Blake postgame.
Blake, what's kind of going through this team's mind right now?
I mean, tough loss for sure, but we're going to be ready to come in the building Sunday, Monday, and get back to it and bounce back next week.
And, obviously first Big 12 loss, how much is this sort of just an introduction of, the road isn't getting any easier? How much of, learning experience is this for this group?
Yeah, it's a great conference. I mean, we're going to do what we do. We're going to go out there and play ball how we play ball, and I think we'll be ready to go next week. So.
How challenging was it for you guys not to be able to get off the field on some of those drives?
It's tough for sure. I mean, we got to execute better for sure. We got to play better football in them situations. But I mean, we'll be in practice repping that kind of stuff all week, so we'll be good.
With the amount of emphasis you guys have put on situational football and 2-minute defensive drills and whatnot, what can you do at this point to now continue to get better at that?
Just keep repping it, keep knowing the situation, kind of figure out the details, the fine line, what we need to do better at, and keep repping it in practice.
Brendan Sorsby hadn't been sacked this year. Just what makes him so difficult to bring down? He looked, elusive in the pocket at times today.
Yeah, no, he's a great player. I mean, we got pressure on him a lot, so I mean, we did a great job up front, but can always do better. So.
What was that sacking experience like for you? Certainly, from our perspective, it looked pretty fun.
No, it was fun for sure. Hopefully, we can come out with a win next time.
That was Blake Herold post-game. We're going to hear more from Blake a little bit later in the week. After this, though, it's a Top 10 Tuesday here on Rock Chalk Sports. Thanks for watching on KansasNation.com.
Hey, this is Cole Ballard, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
John Kellerman and Dan Courtwright back with you here for Rock Chalk Sports. Big shout out to Miles Schneider and everybody over at Crown Automotive. Really appreciate that partnership. Great people over there at Crown, and yeah, we're so happy to have them here as
Great
our
wine
partners
too, by the way.
Great
Shout out to
wine,
Miles
great
Schneer.
ball markers,
Great
Zenith
ball
Winery.
markers. Yeah, I need to go get a round of golf in with Miles Schneer. I
Oh,
bet he would
that'd be great.
wipe the floor with me, but
I would
that'd
think
be
so.
fun.
I would
it'd
think
be
so.
fun.
A round of golf sounds nice, but yeah, it's still a little toasty for us. But yeah, everybody at Crown Automotive, really appreciate our partnership with them. Also, Family Leisure,
Yes.
helping furnish this
That's right.
beautiful studio. So
This
big
desk
thanks
right
to them
here,
as well.
Family Leisure. These
Our
couches,
gorgeous couches.
I
Yeah,
know.
they're
The
great.
scoreboard, not from Family Leisure, but ask them and they might make you one. I don't know.
KU football against UCF, 6:30 on Saturday, 6:30 Central Time, 7:30, of course, out by Disney World. 5 o'clock Crimson and Blue show you can hear on Sports Radio 810. All right, Dan, Top 10 Tuesday. What do we got?
So I'm doing my top 10. So this is actually a topical one. So in recent news, Paul Feinbaum, noted SEC truther, has come out and said that he's considering running for U.S. Senate against none other than former Texas Tech and Auburn head coach Tommy Tuberville. So it's going to be
Classic matchup.
Paul Feinbaum against Tommy Tuberville for U.S. Senate, which is the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life, which got me thinking, because there's a lot of people in sports who have big personalities and are big into the philanthropy and different things like that, that they just, like, every time I hear there's a select few, and I have 10 of them. Every time I hear them in a press conference or see them in a commercial or whatever it may be, I go, man, whatever that guy says, I'm in. Like, I am all in on that guy. So I'm doing my top 10 sports figures that I want to personally see run for office.
All right. It could be current or former.
Current or former.
I got to start thinking of some honorable mentions so that I'm ready.
A lot of them are, I mean, I have a lot of current, actually.
Good.
I mean, guys, they're all still alive, right?
Yeah.
You don't want a
So they're
dead
all
person running
alive. Do you have some current athletes on there as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
All right. Not just retired.
No.
So
No.
whether you're dead or alive, former or current, you
Right.
could be on this list.
Absolutely.
Let's get going with number
All right,
10.
let's get going. Number 10. Number 10 on my top 10 sports figures that I want to see run for political office is, this is a cheap one, but I still think it's great. A lot of these are going to mirror, by the way, athletes we want to party with. But I'm going with Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah.
Gronk.
I'm shocked you don't have him higher because I know that you love
So,
Gronk.
I love.
You're on record saying he's the greatest tight end of all time.
I'm not on record saying he's the greatest tight end of all time. I think he's third. I think he's the third greatest tight end of all time.
Tony Gates or Tony Gonzalez?
And then Kelsey.
Well, yeah, Kelsey's number one. That was understood.
I think Tony might be better than Kelsey.
Kelsey's number one, and then you want Tony Gonzalez, and then Tony Gates is underneath.
Gates is
Gronk.
up there. By the way, never played a snap of college football.
Yeah,
Insane.
but he did.
He's the first player in the NFL. Yeah.
Wait.
He's the first player to
Also Tony
get.
Gonzalez, former basketball legend, Cal. Shout out to ACC.
That's right.
Great.
Same Jimmy Graham
The
too.
Cal Bears.
Jimmy
Yes.
Graham. But
Jimmy
yeah,
Graham,
Rob Gronkowski.
noted, rower.
Rob Gronkowski did not play basketball, but he's currently on Fox. Fox Sports, that is, as an analyst. And I don't know, man, just something about, like, if Rob Gronkowski ran a platform, it would be like, all right, mandatory raves every Wednesday night, Thursdays noon, you have to shotgun a beer.
I don't know that I've ever been to a rave.
Neither have I.
Okay, good.
I don't think I have either. Business casual is now just like tank tops and swimming trunks.
Do you have
like, that's
McAfee
the
on
kinda-
here?
Huh?
You have McAfee on here?
No, I don't have McAfee
Okay.
on here, actually, surprisingly. Honorable mention for sure. But I like Rob Gronkowski because he's also like sneaky. Like I know his whole facade is that he's like an idiot. I've listened to interviews with him. I think he's like actually a relatively smart person. Like, he reads books and he understands, just in terms of PR, like the way to talk to cameras. I'd be in on Rob, man.
I know you're a big books guy. You got 3 right in front of you on your
Yeah.
desk. Yes.
Marion Washington, fierce.
Yes. Banner Year
Signed,
as
by the
well as
way.
on there.
Yeah, that's right. Max
Marion Washington.
Walkenstein
Friend of the
book.
show, Marion Washington.
Friend of the show,
Yes.
absolutely.
All
Friend of
right,
the show,
who we
Brian
got? Who
Haney.
we got for number 9?
Number 9 on my top 10 sports figures that I want to see in or run for office, Larry Fitzgerald. I think Larry Fitzgerald. Have you ever listened to an interview with him? The nicest
sure I
man
have.
in the world. He just seems like the nicest man in the world. Talk about a philanthropist. This guy has his own foundation, the Larry Fitzgerald Foundation, and it supports education and breast cancer awareness. It's like 2 in 1. It's just a fascinating thing. Larry Fitzgerald, by the way, arguably one of the greatest wide receivers of all time.
Yeah, it's a bummer he had to spend his whole career with the Cardinals.
I know.
They did
that's
go to
true.
the Super Bowl that one time,
True.
lost
Yes.
to Big Ben.
But,
But
like,
yes, everything I've heard about him, he's a great guy.
That's the thing. It's just like one of those guys where you look at him and he's got that big smile and you just go, I just like him.
Do you think
now would I want to party with Larry Fitzgerald? Probably not. I don't think he's much of a party kind of
you
guy.
don't know that.
But he's a guy who I would just respect at the utmost level. Just seems like a great guy.
Do you think that we need more good people in office?
Yeah, yes. That's mainly what it. Yeah, it's just like, we need more good people in office, and Larry Fitzgerald just seems like a solid dude.
Man, he's been out of the league for 5 years now.
Isn't that
God,
crazy?
Time flies.
Is he going to be in the Hall of Fame this year?
Is that right?
I mean, the time has passed, right? It's 5 years. So you would think.
Looks like it. Yeah, 2020. So yeah, that'll be soon enough.
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, he's first ballot. Got to be, right?
Yeah, gotta be.
Got to be.
Shame he wasn't able to get that Super Bowl, but
I know.
that's what happens when you play with the Cardinals.
True. All right, number eight on my top 10 sports figures that I want to see run for office. Recent guy, still in the league, George Kittle.
Ooh.
I see, and here's why. I have a couple of reasons. Number one, great personality.
Very similar to Gronk. He's got some Gronk in him.
Yeah, but I think I did just say that I think Gronk is smarter than we all give him, but also it's a low damn bar. I think George Kittle is actually like a literate person, and I think he's got his head on right. Plus, another reason, I just want to see that hair in a Senate chamber. I think that would be fantastic. The buzz on the side and the long hair down to the back.
He has really switched it up.
How great would that be to see that in the Senate
and
chamber?
The beard.
In like
he's got a lot going on.
A suit.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got a lot going on. And I just think it would be funny. I'm a fan of rebellious haircuts. That's why I have a mustache.
Yeah, that didn't start right. That didn't start until you went to until he got to the league, honestly.
Yeah, he's just like a regular guy when he was at Iowa.
Yeah, how about that?
But yeah, again, a guy with a good personality, and also if the 49ers would have beaten the Chiefs in any of those Super Bowls, I would have kept him off here immediately. But since he lost twice to the Chiefs, I don't have any personal vendettas against George Kittle, and I think he's a good guy.
Isn't it crazy how people are always like, oh, the best tight end in the league is either Kelsey or Kittle, and they would always say, oh, well, Kittle's a better blocker. Like
right.
people who hate the Chiefs would always talk about that.
Oh, Travis Kelce can't block. Yes, he can. I'll pull up a
They're just
12-minute video of him blocking
looking for
right
reasons.
now. Yeah. But I like George Kittle. Also, it's more of like it's the Mike Trout, LeBron James thing where it's like they'll just try to find anybody and they'll be like, oh well, he's better. It's like George Kittle is not going to be in the conversation of best tight ends of all time.
No, he's not, and he's on the injured reserve again. So
yeah, absolutely. But I still think he's a fun guy.
Yeah.
He seems like a good hang. And I want to see him run for office. All right, number seven on my top 10 sports figures that I want to see run for office. You knew this was coming. Sir Charles, the round mound of rebound.
the mound mound of rebound.
I'm having a stroke.
Yes.
Charles Barkley.
Gnarls.
Come on. Nah, that's just a fun guy. That's the kind of now. Granted,
he is on a lot of our lists.
So he needs to work on his golf game because I mean, if you're going to be president, you got to be a decent golfer, I guess. He's a bad golfer. Charles Barkley's a bad golfer.
He's also terrible at filling out an NCAA tournament bracket.
Also true. Yeah. But just a guy who just whenever I see him, man, I'm just in on whatever he does. Whatever he does, I'm in on. Yes, Charles. Yes.
He was really the clinching pick. We did a fantasy draft of athletes we want to party with.
Yeah.
He had to be the clinching pick. That was maybe some of my best work. That draft.
Yeah,
I had Livy Dunn on there.
You did have Livy Dunn.
That was great.
There. Yeah. But she would not be a fun hang. She'd be just in the corner doing TikTok dances.
That's
the whole
not true.
time.
But I had Touchdown Todd on there.
You did.
And yeah, you can see Todd Reesing on an upcoming episode of Haney and the Hawks here on Kansas Nation.
That's right.
But yeah, Touchdown Todd and Charles Barkley.
We didn't get a chance to party with him though, unfortunately.
T.O. Double Trouble? No, we didn't. I know. I'm hoping next time he comes in town we can.
Yeah, he'll be back for sure.
Enjoy something together in Kansas
Charles
Nation.
Barkley, got to be on there. Number 6 on my top 10 political figures that I want to see, or excuse me, sports figures that I want to see run for office. I could do a political figures that I want to see play sports.
Right.
I think that'd be a fun one. Number 6, Marshawn Lynch. So apparently he wanted to run for mayor of Oakland a while back. But this is like a real thing. He wanted to run for mayor of Oakland because he didn't like the way it was going or whatever. That man's just got what's the word I'm looking for? Moxie.
Yes.
Moxie, just
Charisma.
charisma, just a great personality. He has like it's weird. Like recently, he has like a podcast with I think like Gavin Newsom or somebody. It's called like Politicking. I don't know how much.
Oh man, so he's actually kind of dipping his
I
toe.
think he's like actually like kind of he like knows his stuff about politics. I think. I don't know, but also how fun would that be? Just to the State of the Union address. He walks on. It's all over the news, and he just walks up and he goes, "Look, guys, I'm not going to tell you anything. I'm just here so I don't get fined." Basically.
Oh, perfect.
How great would that be?
You know
right?
that's by the way, the sixth thing that comes up when you type in Marshawn Lynch on Google is Marshawn Lynch Skittles.
Skittles, of course.
Yeah, and there's apparently a Seattle mix. There was a limited edition Seattle mix of Skittles and also Marshawn's pack. Yeah,
What
this
does it
dude,
taste like?
for anybody,
Coffee?
for anybody who doesn't know, yeah, he would literally throw back some Skittles on the sidelines.
See, that's the thing that I like about him is that he would change our school lunch program to include Skittles with
Yes.
every meal.
Right.
That's why I would vote for him.
On
I want
board.
my child to eat Skittles every day.
On board with that.
Every day. for
Marshawn
lunch.
in office.
What do you think his I don't know. He seems like a fun guy.
Yeah, beast mode.
I'd put him like a lot of these guys would be like, all right, yeah, senator or mayor or whatever. Marshawn, president. I want him at president.
All right,
I want him
who's,
running the nation.
Who's higher than him?
Number 5 on my top 10 sports figures who I want to run for office. Travis Goff.
Nice.
Okay, let's talk about a guy who implements change, right? Every single hire that he has had at the University of Kansas, Lance Leipold, Nate Lee, Lindsey Cool, Matt Ulmer, and the list goes on. Andy Derrick. The list goes on.
Dan Fitzgerald.
I can't believe it. Dan Fitzgerald. I mean, my goodness. Like the list goes on and on and on. Just of people that like he has
Be a great cabinet.
He has a great cabinet. He would pick good people to be around him. And then on the flip side of it, he hired Coach Leipold and he flipped the football program around. And now we have a brand new shiny stadium. I mean, he literally took Kansas football from the dumps, something that Shehan Zinger and Jeff Long was not able to do. Brought them from the ashes, and now we are of national relevance once again.
I think the most important thing he did is hire the right people.
Also, charming guy, right?
Oh, totally.
Just a guy who you just love to talk to.
Family man.
Yeah, I mean, you can see him going around,
Jayhawk through and through,
shaking hands, kissing babies. I mean, that's a classic Travis Goff.
We could fill this list
I
with
think
Jayhawks, but yeah.
He would be a great politician.
The head hawk, as the voice of the Jayhawks, Brian Haney says, Travis Goff. He'd get my vote.
He would get my vote too. I mean, my goodness, just put a new stadium in every city that needs one. That'd be great. I think. I don't know.
With a little bit of help from some donors.
I mean,
each city.
Have him run for mayor of Lawrence. He might as well be the mayor of Lawrence. Honestly, might as well be. Yeah, number 5, Travis Goff. Number 4 on my top 10 sports figures that I want to see in office, Greg Olson.
God, did you see that thing on Barstool the other day?
Uh-uh.
Oh my God, Portnoy was like talking trash on Olson's outfit or something. I don't know. It was strange. Olson was clearly getting upset about it, and Portnoy wouldn't pull back.
Oh,
I know.
I like Greg Olson.
Greg Olson's great.
I am on
He should have
record.
never been demoted, and I know that this is a hot take, and you don't feel the same. He should have never been demoted.
I feel the exact
demoted
same.
from Fox's #1 broadcast crew for NFL football.
We have the exact same point of view on this. Tom Brady did not deserve that. He did not deserve to be the primetime guy for Fox. It should have been Greg.
To be fair, I kind of like Tom Brady. I like Brady and Burkhardt. They're all right, but Greg Olson knows the game, man.
Greg's the best color analyst in the game right now.
Yeah, I like that pick though at number 4.
Plus, another philanthropist and a lot of stuff. He's got a kid who's gone through some challenging times and got raised a lot of money. So I like him. Number 3 on my top 10 sports figures that I want to see run for office, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, come on.
Talk about a guy who takes accountability.
Yeah.
No matter what's going on.
Good with now, granted, not
Mature.
a great voice. So like when he's giving speeches and he's talking like this, like it's just like it would get a little
Listen
old.
here.
It would get a little, it would get a little old after a while. But I still think he's I don't know. I mean, like, could you imagine if Patrick Mahomes just ran for literally anything in the city of Kansas City?
Oh,
He would
well,
win.
No, yeah.
99.9999% of the votes. The 0.0001 would be just like somebody who's not a Chiefs fan who lives in Kansas City.
This is a good time to bring up. By the way, speaking of not Chiefs fans that live locally, Matt Tate.
That's right.
He likes the Denver Broncos.
Denver Broncos fan.
Have yet to have him on the show. We're hoping at some point we can get Matt Tate on the show. Haven't been able to make that happen yet. Matt Tate works for R1S1 Sports. At some point, that's the hope. But yes, he's a Broncos fan. I see what you're saying, though. Kansas City, they love Patrick Mahomes. We also have Bobby Witt Jr. Now's probably a good time to bring up the fact that, again, Bobby Witt Jr. led the league in hits, also led the league in doubles. Actually wasn't
MVP.
the greatest individual season. It wasn't as good of an individual season compared to last year.
Well,
but
he was
still
bad
led
in May.
Still led
That's
the league in hits.
Yeah.
82 and 80 were the Royals. Want to make sure we fit that in.
Yeah,
but
for
yeah,
sure.
Mahomes or Bobby Witt.
So so have him do like a gubernatorial race for either Missouri or Kansas, and Patrick Mahomes, governor, Bobby Witt, lieutenant.
I'm in.
Or vice versa.
Hey, if you miss anything on the show, you can, of course, watch the show on YouTube. But, Dan, now we are available on audio platforms as well. I want to squeeze that in before we get to
That's
number 2
right.
here.
Yeah, we're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, by the way. So check us out there. Look up Rock Chalk Sports, Kansas Nation. Just look up Kansas Nation Rock Chalk Sports. You'll be able to find us.
Audio only.
Yeah.
Don't watch YouTube while driving.
Please don't. Yes. Number 2 on my top 10 sports figures that I want to see get into politics, Peyton Manning. Talk about a guy who just,
Rocky Top.
That's the guy, right? I mean, he's number 2 because I have a good one.
Dude, you have 6 football players here. Who was number 9?
Larry Fitzgerald.
You have 7 football players here. As I knock my microphone. Shout out to Kevin Flaherty. He knocked his microphone yesterday.
Yeah.
Dude,
No,
you should have just done NFL.
I know. I should have done NFL.
We got Gnarls Barkley and Travis Goff as the lone non. Maybe number 1 won't be NFL. We'll see.
So number 1 won't be NFL,
Okay,
but I love.
you go.
But like Peyton Manning has just he's got the charisma,
Yeah.
and then number 1, drum roll, Bill Self.
Bill Self.
Yeah, it's got to be right. Bill Self, he's got the charisma.
Is that a natural next step for him?
I think so.
I think he's got about 20 more years.
I think
of
so.
coaching
I mean, he's just
Kansas
a class. He looks good in a suit.
He looks good in a quarter zip.
Looks good in a quarter zip. Maybe he can make that the new fashion in either the Senate chamber or wherever he decides to go. President. I want him to be president and wear a KU quarter zip.
Does every mom want all of college basketball coaches to go back to the suit?
This is my old man yells at cloud. I kind of want him to go back to suits.
I've always thought of you
too.
as kind of a motherly figure.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
Appreciate
that checks out. Yeah.
But yeah, Bill Self for
Bill
president.
Self. See, how are you supposed to decide between Bill Self and Patrick Mahomes? Mahomes should be 2, Manning 3.
I know. I think Peyton Manning just has a better voice than Patrick Mahomes. That's why Patrick Mahomes is number 3.
I think it's Bill and Mahomes as,
all
as
right.
vice.
Yeah.
President,
Do you
vice
have any
president.
honorable mentions?
I don't. No, I got to think more about this, but I think we need to get a few more that are not across the NFL.
See, like Tom Brady probably will at some point. You just feel it. Jerry Jones, maybe.
No. That's our top 10 Tuesday segment for today. Sports athletes as political candidates.
Yes.
Always gets a little shaky there, but anyway, appreciate that.
Hey, I can sit on a fence.
Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that. In the 5 o'clock hour, we're going to hear from Lance Leipold, everything he said at his weekly press conference yesterday on Rock Chalk Sports. Thanks for watching KansasNation.com.
This is Daniel Highshaw, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com. Thanks for listening as well on ESPN Kansas City. Head coach Lance Leipold for KU football was made available to the media yesterday at his weekly presser. Let's hear from Coach.
Hey Lance, I was curious, going over the film review, just what were some things you saw defensively, and then on the flip side, what were some things you saw good?
Well, I guess you're asking more defensively where our breakdowns occurred and things like that. Multifaceted, really, to be honest. Some misalignments, missed assignments. Really, from the outset, we need to be better. We addressed that today. Again, we're on the higher end of missed tackles, like I say, misalignment. And I think, as I said after the game, I think we got tentative and played some soft in some areas. I think our effort level has been, our strain and pursuit levels have been better, and it has to be better moving forward. All those things kind of led to a tough day, I think, on that side. And again, making sure we understand what we're supposed to do. There wasn't schematically, there wasn't like a bunch of different things put into the game plan. So, but we all have to own that, starting from the head coach on down. And I think today, going out there, that our guys responded. Again, individually, I think we had some really good efforts of some guys, and I thought, especially the second half, even though we didn't get stops, I think as a whole we played better as a football team and responded. I don't know if we wore down early. A lot of snaps on that side of the ball, and part of that can be misleading, John. Is we score on a one-play drive, and then we go 3 and out. So you go like that, and you run 4 plays in a quarter, and your other guys are out there, and that's disappointing. But it's again, I think our guys are determined to put it back on track.
I saw Scott Frost said this morning that their quarterback status is up in the air. I just didn't know, how did you guys prepare for that, and what did you see from Central Florida on film?
Yeah, I didn't see that about the quarterback situation. I don't know if that's injury-wise or just performance-wise, but they've played some other quarterbacks this year, early in the year, it appears. Scott Frost is an excellent offensive mind. He's had successful offenses at UCF in the past, as well as his coordinator days and as head coach at Nebraska. They're going to play fast. They've recruited well, like many people in today's area, replenishing rosters due to multiple reasons. I think they've forming that roster the way they want it to be, with excellent team speed at the skill positions. I think athletically on the edge, they've got us 2 good edge players, athletically, lengthwise, everything that match up to a lot of the better players that we've gone against so far. And again, that'll be a huge challenge down there.
Lance, I think Jalen leads, they're second in the nation in passing touchdowns. Is that something that you're surprised by at all?
Say that again.
I think he's second in the nation in passing touchdowns this year. 16. I think he has more than last year.
Okay. Oh, really? I wasn't aware of that. Probably didn't read my notes they provided for me, but I wasn't aware that he had that many and that high. But now that you mention it, probably, is that surprising to me?
Yeah. Obviously,
I don't know if the word would be surprised. Pleased would be. I think we had the potential to do that. I guess to surpass, last year at this time, we, much as we're disappointed this week, and everything, we were really in a frustrated point last year, a lot of different ways, and disappointed. So I think we felt we had the ability to be explosive. I think some of those big plays, like our first play, and both Emmanuel's touchdowns and things, giving us that explosiveness that we desire. But as a whole, I probably the thing that I'm most pleased with is really the amount of different guys that are contributing in the receiving area for us. That gives us confidence to spread the ball around and do things and not be locked in on one guy.
Yeah, and with Daniel Highshaw's status, what exactly is happening there? And what's the injury? I think you mentioned it before. Is it something he's dealt with before?
It's slightly different than what he's had before. It's not a reoccurrence from that. Something that had slowed him earlier this year and is now kind of magnified itself, and not really sure a timeline there yet right now. But so what we essentially did was the guys that were out for last week. I know you guys will keep asking all these questions, so to try to be as consistent and fair for everyone involved, including our program, I want to try to, develop a way on these days that we give you as best we can of where it's at, and really kind of just leaving it as really how it ended on Saturday until we start progressing till we have to do it on Wednesday for real. So, okay. Makes sense?
Yeah.
hope everyone moving forward can understand that's kind of what we'll try to do.
I guess just to follow up on that, then, you mentioned you learned more about Deshaun yesterday.
Yeah, I'm still learning there. So, like I said, he did not practice today.
Okay. And then also, I guess this is Scott's first year at UCF, but he's been there before. You mentioned Nebraska. How much do you look back at past stops of his, or do you feel like 5 games or 4 games, whatever it is enough to take a look at?
Well, yeah, like everyone, I guess I can answer that generally because this is the second coach that has returned to their former place of employment. But also within those new staffs, they have new coordinators, whether it be the head coach calling the offense or a coordinator. So when they put those people together, we've gone back and watched everything. If a coordinator has gone against us at somewhere else, we'll go back and watch that. We'll watch other things, and so we'll watch as much as we can. So obviously, their 4 games so far, we've watched those. We go back and yeah, I don't know if the guys went all the way back to his UCF days, but we look back at Nebraska things and similarities and things like that. Okay.
Lance, I know you played at Mizzou, but that's relatively close in terms of travel.
Mm-hmm.
Does this have a different feel, a different approach for how you guys handle a road game?
We talked a little bit about it to our leadership group. Talked about as a staff. Obviously, our Friday will be different. It'll be a little bit earlier to get them in the building than we have all the rest of the year. But with it, then you lose the hour in travel, all those things, and then once we get to the hotel, it'll be a format that we've used before. So, I think once we get there, we'll kind of fall into that routine. Try to give them a little extra time in the morning because of the time change, so we can get then we normally would wake up because it's a 7:30 kick versus a 6:30 here. So we try to adapt it and make a few templates on different kickoff times depending on how we do it, and try to stay consistent. I don't know if it's all what you're looking for, but it's we don't philosophically. Just for me, I've been a part of things where you have plane issues, so I still want to try to take off as close to midday as possible, noon or whatever, especially on a longer trip, so that if there is anything, because I've been part of a disaster where a couple of them where you don't, your plane has issues and you don't roll in till after midnight and you got to get up and play and all those things. So want to try to make sure we give ourselves time if there is anything and then still stay in routine.
We didn't get to ask you about Blake Herold on Saturday very much either. He really stood out. I'm sure he did on film too. Do you point at guys like that, veterans who just continue to bring it?
Yeah,
can that help the defense as a whole?
It can. Point out, we do all the GPS tracking, all that, and his explosive movements were off the chart. Led the team. He plays extremely hard. He's a guy that Mondays and Tuesdays are pretty tough on us, and when he shows up here, but the kid doesn't miss, and he keeps working. And if you have a chance to visit with Blake, he's not the most outgoing guy there is out there. I don't know if he gives you many quotes, but he just likes playing ball and working his tail off, and this program really appreciates him, and I know his teammates do as well.
After the game on Saturday, you talked about how you guys didn't play confidently enough in coverage. How do you go about instilling that confidence, and I guess to what extent does it have to do with scheme, and to what extent does it have to do with individual player execution?
Well, it's some of each on some things. A lot of it has to do with trusting technique and assignment responsibilities, having your eyes where they need to be, playing the proper technique, and of course then athletically you have to go do and execute those things. But there's a culmination of a lot of those different things that were major breakdowns for us on Saturday, and again, it's a lot of the things that we challenge our guys is we got to have better practice habits this week. Okay, we got to have things that are consistently reinforced, and they have been for a long time. We just got to make sure that attention to detail and sense of urgency about going about that kind of helps those things, and let guys play a little bit more confidently. I think after quarterback got in good rhythm and did some things, and I think all those things compounded themselves. But like I said, we went through some film things, and there were correctable things before the ball was snapped and after the ball was snapped, just by some better attention to detail that I think that will be addressed and we'll be better at next week.
You guys played Jalen Todd some at safety this week. He's on the depth chart at Hawk. What's kind of the thought process behind that, and what did you see from him at safety?
Yeah, well, if you remember last year, he played some nickel and did some things. So he played it with Mason being down. And Saeed got banged up, and kind of looked at options there and Devin being down for the week, or for the first half, I should say. I apologize. What were our options? So repping guys, we gave him those reps, and he did a nice job. So again, as we want to continue to stimulate competition in the secondary, now you've got more pieces to play with, so to speak. Of like if you're getting better play from at the corner position holistically, then Jalen can go in there. If it's more from the safety position or whatever it is, and if Saeed or Mason aren't getting it done, you've got another guy that has experience doing it. So I like the flexibility. Jalen Todd's played good football for us. It's extremely important to him. He works hard at it, and again, I think sometimes in the bigger picture of it, it gives him a better sense of the defense and how it comes together, that I think can help him be a better player and a better leader for us.
You guys drilled all offseason on finishing, on situational football, all those things. Is it stay the course on that stuff, or is it, do you kind of look at it and say, hey, this may need to change a little bit because maybe there have been a few issues, or how do you focus on that?
I'm not sure exactly how we would change it. The only way we would change it would be not practicing it, and that would make a lot of sense. And so, again, you'd like it to be executed better. I think, you can watch NFL games and college games all over, and you can sit there and, critique and analyze how everybody does in the heat of the battle. And I wish we could do better. And there were things in those areas that, again, that we can do better. And I don't want to ever say, again, there's not going to be a particular player, there's not going to be a particular coach. It starts with the head coach. But we've done situational stuff. You wish that it could be magical. Like I said, I don't know if I said this after the game. We've talked a lot defensively, and I understand why. But right now, offensively, we got to be better in the red zone. Okay, we are not scoring enough touchdowns in the red zone. Now, we got a lot of touchdowns, and we got enough touchdown passes, but we got to be more efficient. And right now, we haven't been as great on third down as we have maybe in the past. So those things, a culmination of stuff. We turned the ball over and had a missed snap and things down there that weren't real fluid. So as a head coach, I looked at it as, we better just score a dang touchdown. I can't worry about it. Hey, let's run the ball one more time, because somebody probably is going to say in our analytics, people will send me probably something later today that we should have run the ball, made them burn another timeout, and then try to score either on third down or something. That definitely went through my head. But at the same time, I also know that it hasn't been as fluid and easy to pick and choose when he can dial up touchdowns. So let's try to go get it and win the game, and let's try to get a stop. So if that puts you under the microscope, then I guess that's what I sign up for. But that's the whole rationale of the situation. Execution. Again, I'm not going to go on Trey Lathan or anything, but if he makes another interception like he did the week before, we wouldn't even be talking about that, right? We're close, and that's football.
You talked about all the different pieces helping in the passing game. Bowden Gruen had a terrific game, and Keaton Kubeka had maybe his best game as well. What are you seeing from those two guys?
Very good points on both guys. Again, I know you watch that film pretty well yourself, and you go through it. It's by far Keaton's best game as a Jayhawk. Again, on the flip side, there's a guy that makes a couple catches, made some good catches early, and I think his last one on the boundary on our side was about as confident of a route that I've seen him run. And you can see a guy that has success gain confidence and play faster, and he did that. And again, seeing him get some catches builds confidence from Jalen and the other quarterbacks that we can be successful with him on the field. Bowden Gruen's been a real fine addition to this team for when we had to go back to the portal after a defection in the summer. We were hoping for the best. Didn't know with him coming off injury what we'd really get, and really was hoping for depth. And right now he's putting himself in a good position to be a starter. And he's extremely smart. He's picked things up. I mean, that adjustment on that touchdown catch was really a cool thing to watch. It was a thing of beauty watching him adjust his body and make that play. And he continues to gain confidence. Jalen again has it in him. And again, he played the most snaps of the tight ends, and we'll see where that rotation takes us next week.
How do you evaluate where the run game is, and what do you think is needed to get it more consistent?
Yeah, consistency again. Again, when you run the ball, there's a lot of different things that happen with the 5 to 6 guys that are up there in the breakdowns. There's again consistency in communication, understanding, blocking movement better, doing things like that. In the RPO game, there's some decisions that we can make. Jalen made some things happen with his feet. I think it took us a while to get going. If you remember last week at this time, I talked about how good their front was. With or without Carlino, that's a good defensive front seven, and they showed that. And they were physical, and they were more physical than us. And it took a little while to get going, but I did think that, by the end we were running the ball with the consistency that we would need. But the other part is, I go back to that thing I said about 10 minutes ago, is we didn't run many plays. And anytime you go 3 and out, let alone a one-play drive, you're still kind of searching for the feel of what's going to work against those people. And the other part of it was they gave us more 4-man front versus the 3-man front than we anticipated, especially early in the game. So some of that took some adjusting in schematics and what we've truly repped, and that's a credit to them. And the teams that mix up 3-man, 4-man fronts, it's a balancing act of how many things you're going to get practice during the week to do well.
Hey, Coach, don't want you to give away the game plan here, but maybe is there a message or a theme that you're trying to impart on the team this week?
Well, I think I've tried to hit a little bit of it. Is again, we've got to get back to great practice habits and a sense of urgency about doing our jobs with the way it should be. And again, there's not a magic potion to this. It's not something that we haven't been able to do. We've got to be able to have consistency Monday through Friday and be excited for kickoff on Saturday. So I think if we can continue to take some of those things and as we get on the plane Friday, I think we'll have a better showing on Saturday.
One more, Jordan.
Thanks. Bryce Foster mentioned last week the efforts that he's made with Coach Malsa to improve his own play this season. I wondered what you've seen from him, and if those sort of conversations that he initiated with Darryl are things that are common or maybe something about.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys in our program will again, depending on how they play and what's going on, and they come in. Sometimes a guy will come in and if he's a rotational guy, ask about playing time or what he needs to do, and I always say it's not for that type of player in that situation, it's not why aren't I playing, it's what do I need to do to play more. And then the coach should be able to give you, you need to improve on this, this, and this, and you give tangible things to work on. Sometimes a player will come in and know that he's not playing to his desire or our desire might be, and in that conversation, the same thing. We need to be, concentrating a little bit more on these type of things in practice. And Bryce is a guy, as missed almost the first 2 weeks of camp. And there are some lingering from that time that limits him early in the week. He's a tough son of a gun and works extremely hard for us, but sometimes he doesn't get as much early week work as we would like. And sometimes, so he's got to make sure that mentally, he's getting those reps so that when he comes in that he's physically able to execute what we need him to. But it's good to see that he feels he can go to his position coach, talk about that. Today's a tough day, win or lose, because you got to own what's on film, and that's part of college football. And again, and I kind of reference and kind of going off this now slightly, but if we would have won that game and we get a stop, we would be talking about the same issues with our guys, except your questions might be slightly different because it would be a lot more positive about winning a football game probably. But we still, win or lose, have these issues that get identified and have to be addressed. So we're going to keep plugging along. I appreciate our guys' efforts. Our staff is still diving in and grinding, and we know it'll be a big challenge in Orlando.
That's KU head coach Lance Leipold. Lots to dive into regarding that, Dan. Of course, Monday mornings are always it's always tricky because you got to meet with the media, and of course, the sting has worn off a little bit from the Saturday game, and this was a particularly painful one. But now we're just at the point where KU's got to focus on UCF, got to start making the winning plays, because that's something that the past year plus in these close games, they haven't gone Kansas' way. They got to find a way.
Yeah, I think I do have a note on just his presence in the media throughout this year comparatively to last year, right? I think that we're seeing a better coach Leipold towards the media, right? Which I think is a great thing because it speaks to his growth and his maturity as a head football coach. And I think if this loss would have happened last year, we would have seen sort of a downtrodden kind of, beaten up Lance, and he's like, yeah, look, I'm owning this. And, obviously the post-game press conference wasn't as good as the Monday press conference, but the Monday press conference, he came back, he was answering everybody's questions. He wasn't getting defensive about things. So I think that's really important for growth. And he understands as much as anybody, right? I mean, we've talked about this, about all of the issues that need to be resolved for Kansas football. He is acutely aware of all of those. This isn't news to him, right? So he knows exactly what they need to do, and I think he's done a good job of kind of turning this leaf and looking forward towards UCF.
And that's the thing, is that we talk about it all the time. Great coaches are great coaches, but even Bill Self has talked about this, and he's maybe the greatest basketball coach there ever was. Players got to make plays when it comes down to it. And, we could be having a completely different conversation if KU was able to get that interception, right?
Yeah.
And they weren't able to pick up the football last year in the loss to UNLV that we don't really want to relive. And not, to use another basketball reference, not every shot's going to go in, all right? But you got to find a way to make those plays
hockey reference
when it matters most. Yeah, hockey, soccer, we can go with any of that. But yeah, it's tough. And again, the third down conversions, that's a big area of growth. One thing that probably hasn't been talked about a ton, but I think is an area where Kansas really needs to improve, and you've heard me say it before on this show, Dan. KU is not causing enough havoc defensively.
Right.
The last 4 games, KU has only forced 3 turnovers. They forced 2 against West Virginia and 1 against Mizzou, none against Wagner, and none against Cincinnati. That's not quite good enough, right? You got to win the turnover battle. Only way you're going to win the turnover battle is if you force 1 or 2 at least, right? And KU lost it. Of course, we had the fumble, and people will pick and choose what they want to break down as to why Kansas lost that game. But in addition to being better on third down, both sides, and on defense, got to be better on third down. Got to figure out a way to get more pressure on the quarterback. Got to be better in terms of the early downs as well to make those third and fourth downs not as manageable, but you have to find a way to get some takeaways.
Yeah, 100%. You absolutely do. And Blake Herold and the guys up front, which we actually heard from Blake Herold. We'll hear from Blake Herold again later on this week because we saw him earlier today. But that defensive front needs to do a better job of getting pressure on the quarterback, whoever it may be, getting penetration, getting those stops on third and fourth down. I mean, as of right now, I think Shreya Salata brought it up to Jim Zabrowski today. He said, look, you guys are second to last in the conference right now in terms of third and fourth down conversion, and that's just not good enough in terms of on the defensive side of the ball. So Kansas needs to do a better job of not just taking the ball away. Obviously, they need to do a better job of that, but just getting those stops and making sure that they either punt or go for a field goal, not letting them get back into the end zone is such a big part of that as well. And look, this is going to be something that they're going to be able to work on, right? And you have a chance for a palate refresh coming up against UCF, presumably going to be having their third string quarterback in as a starter. We don't know the status of Taven Jackson or their second string guy, but if you can get on him early, be able to get some turnovers, I think momentum is such a huge thing. And if you're playing with momentum on the defensive side of the ball, where you're getting a lot of turnovers and you're getting a lot of stops and you're getting a lot of tackles for loss, I think that could take you a long ways, especially when the next game is against the best team, as what I think, the best team in the Big 12 in Texas Tech.
Shreyas Latta does great work for the Kansas City Star. He's joined us before, and always love having him on. So give him a follow on Twitter and read all of his great articles. Appreciate his coverage, KC Star. One of the great reporters that we get not only on Rock Talk Sports, but get to talk to at KU football availabilities as well. Later in the week, you're going to hear from DK McDonald. You're going to hear from Jim Zabrowski, Blake Herold. We're going to have Keaton Kubeka, Bowden Groon, as well as Enrique Cruz. So all sorts of content for you here on Rock Talk Sports on Kansas Nation. When we come back, though, we're talking Chiefs football. You're listening to ESPN Kansas City and watching KansasNation.com.
Hey, this is Cole Ballard, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Big thank you to Elijah Schmidt running the operations today here on Rock Chalk Sports. With Dan Courtwright, I'm Sean Kellerman. We're going to talk a little Chiefs football, but first update for the MLB postseason, which got underway today. Tigers at Guardians. We knew that was going to happen, and 14 strikeouts later, Tarek Skubal leads the Tigers to a victory.
Wow.
2-1 over the Guardians in Cleveland. Interestingly enough, since this format started where they do a wild card series, best of 3, which the first year was 2022. Whoever wins game 1 is undefeated, 12-0 entering this. The other final, Cubs defeated the Padres 3-1 earlier today as well. Right now, Yankees and Red Sox are tied, no score in the second inning. A little bit later on, Chavez Ravine, Dodgers host the Reds, but the Tigers perhaps will get the last laugh after all against the Guardians after that crazy final month and a half.
Anticlimactic. Like, I want the Guardians to, I don't know.
Do you? I don't know. I kind of felt like the flip was switched. Thing is, they have Skubal, and he's the best pitcher in the game, so that always helps.
So they're not going to have him for game 2 or 3.
Hey, talk to me about the Kansas City football Chiefs, Dan. What a performance on Sunday. I mean, they looked like the Chiefs. We mentioned it briefly yesterday, but the Chiefs were the Chiefs, and that was something that we haven't seen for a while. I mentioned the stat that they put up, how for the first 3 or 4 years of the Mahomes era, the Chiefs were number 1 offensively in about every category in the NFL, and then for however many years since then, I think since 2022, there's a Super Bowl championship in there, a couple Super Bowl championships and appearances, but the Chiefs have kind of relied more defensively, and they've been more middle of the pack offensively. But man, they put it all together, 37-20, and in fact, it was the Chiefs getting the big win, and the Ravens left with still questions.
Right, yeah, and I mean, I think you said it best, right? The Chiefs finally looked like the Chiefs, right? Or at least what we expect the Chiefs to always look like. And to your point, right, they were number 1 in the NFL in so many different categories for so long up until 2023, and all of a sudden, the Chiefs were middling. Now, granted, they did win 2 Super Bowls while they were middling on the offensive side of the ball, and Spags and his defense was really able to step up. I think when you look at the 3 Super Bowl wins that the Chiefs have during that time, you look at 2019, 2020, the first one, Super Bowl 54, that was 100% won by the offense. I think, it was great to get Tyrann Mathieu in. That was the piece that they were missing to really get the defense to that next level. But then you look at the last 2 Super Bowls that they won, Patrick Mahomes did not have a good arsenal of, I guess, skill position players to be able to throw it to, right? I mean, you had D-Hop, I guess, last year, but they still lost that one. But I mean, the 2 prior to that, right? Juju Smith-Schuster was your number 1 guy. I don't think he should be a number 1 guy, really anywhere. It's alarming to me how steep of a drop off it was in terms of skill position guys after Tyreek Hill wound up leaving, after Sammy Watkins wound up leaving. There's a number of different guys you can look at. Now, granted, you still had Kelsey and you still had Mahomes, and they were still able to get the job done, but it's really been on the defensive end where the Chiefs' success has come, at least within the last probably 3 to 4 years. But looking at this game, I mean, it was good to see Patrick Mahomes back to Patrick Mahomes form, right? Like I said, this is his first 4-touchdown, 0-interception game since October of 2022, the infamous roughing the passer fumble that Chris Jones had on Derek Carr. So it's good to see Patrick Mahomes be able to do that. 270 yards through the air, 25 of 37, right? Xavier Worthy was able to come back from injury. He had 2 carries for 38 yards on the ground, and then he had 5 receptions for 83 yards through the air as well. Hollywood Brown had a touchdown, Juju had a touchdown, and Tyquan Thornton had a touchdown, who's really kind of emerging as another viable skill threat. But at the same time, you can still look at this wide receiver room and say, man, there's a lot of guys who have kind of wandered into nothingness and found their way onto the Chiefs and are really starting to thrive, right? Like Juju Smith-Schuster, who was essentially sent to the wayside by the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Tyquan Thornton was cut by the Patriots. I mean, there's a number of Hollywood Brown was traded from the Ravens to Arizona and didn't really do a whole lot there. Was okay, but not really their number one kind of guy. So it's good to see these guys really be able to step up. And it's easy when you have a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, he makes your job easy, but this is just a butt kicking from start to finish. 37-20 was the final score, and I'm not going to be the excuse guy. I'm very happy that the Chiefs beat the Ravens, but the Ravens were a little dinged up, right? I mean, the Chiefs, they're continuing to get healthier. They have Xavier Worthy back. They have a Ferrari in the garage right now who's waiting for week 7 in Rashee Rice, who's going to come back. So they're really healthy and really deep. Meanwhile, the Ravens, I mean, you look at all the injuries that they had going in, and then also a couple of injuries that happened during the game as well, with Lamar Jackson having to come out. Talk about a Cooper Rush jump scare, right? I didn't even know he was on the Ravens, but he came in and had to finish off the game. 9 of 13, by the way, 52 yards. So not horrible game from Cooper Rush. Not exactly a lot in terms of yards per attempt, and then you had Nate Wiggins go down with an injury as well, with a shoulder injury, which is what you hate to see. So on the defensive end of the ball, the Ravens were just completely depleted. So was it a little bit of fool's gold? And what were the Chiefs essentially beating up on the second, third string defense of the Ravens, or are the Chiefs back to what they originally were?
You mentioned Mahomes, the 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 25 of 37. 270 yards, and he didn't have to do everything with his feet like we've seen so often. Pacheco was solid again, 5 yards per carry. He only had 7 carries, but still that's solid. They gave Hunt the ball. They love Kareem Hunt, 13 carries, 34 yards for just 2.5 yards per tote. But offensively for the Chiefs, it just was so clear the difference that Xavier Worthy makes out there. 5 catches, 83 yards to lead all players. Kelsey had 5 catches for 48 yards. Brown got the touchdown late. But yeah, this is what the Chiefs were when they were peak Chiefs offensively. Mahomes spraying it about. His 4 touchdowns went to 4 different receivers, with Juju and Hollywood, Pacheco, and Thornton each getting 1. Quick decisions, looking like you're always in control on the offensive side. That's what we saw out of the Kansas City Chiefs.
I have a question
Ravens
for
are
you.
dinged up, and I want to dive into the schedule. What's your question?
My question is, are you still an Isaiah Pacheco guy?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
7 rushes for 35 yards.
That's exactly what I said. 5 yards per carry. They're not giving him the
understand
ball
that.
nearly as much, but yeah, Hunt, 13 carries, 34 yards.
Hunt's bad too.
I don't have.
They need to trade for Alvin Kamara. I mean, I know that rumor has been floating around.
Yeah, I don't. Again, I don't see your issue with Pacheco.
I don't
really
like him.
don't. I really don't, and that's
I
fine.
think he's a bad runner.
That's fine.
I think he's the opposite of Le'Veon Bell in terms of he's not patient and he will just run into whatever is in front of him, whether it be his own lineman or a defender or a brick wall. He
5
will
yards
just
a
run
carry is 5
directly
yards a
into
carry,
it.
and you'll take that every day of the week. Hey, schedule-wise, we were feeling really bad about the Chiefs, 0-2, right? And
Yeah.
we knew that, okay, we just lost to the Eagles, not that big of a deal. But now you're 4 games in, you're 2-2, got a road win, and got a win against the Ravens. So you're done with the Eagles and Ravens.
Yeah.
The NFL schedule, the Chiefs are always going to have to face a wagon because they're always going to be good when Mahomes is here. You still have the Lions and the Bills down the line. You got the Washington football team, but for most of those games, you're going to have Rashee Rice back. Next up for the Chiefs is the Jags on Monday. That's not maybe the sexiest game, I guess, in terms of opponent, but the Jags are 3-1, and they just beat a 3-0 team at their place. So I think everybody feels okay. We don't have to hit the panic button. We're kind of back to where we need to be. Feeling all right about 2-2. Plus, the Chargers lost to the New York Football Giants, so the Chiefs are only a game back in terms of wins and losses. Yeah, the Chargers are 3-0 in the division, but still feeling much better. And now the countdown is officially on before Rice is back.
Yeah, absolutely. And, looking forward to the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? I mean, I'm still not out on Trevor Lawrence. I still think he's a really good quarterback. He has 845 yards already on the year through the air. Weirdly enough, Brian Thomas Jr. has not really been able to break out quite yet, which makes me fear that he probably will. Now, granted, he's averaging 13.7 yards per catch. He only has 12 receptions on the year, 164 yards total. So I right now, their number one wide receiver is their tight end, Brenton Strange, who has 19 receptions, 23 targets for 182 yards. So I think we're going to see more Brian Thomas in this game against the Chiefs. We're going to see a lot of Travis Hunter, I believe, as well. Foyesade Oladukin or Oluokun, I believe that's how you say his name. He is a really good linebacker for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't know how to say his name. I know he's fantastic because I've seen him play a lot, and he's really, really good. He has 3 tackles on the year right now. So their defense is nothing to scoff at, right? Trayvon Walker could potentially be out for this game, I know. I believe that he was listed on the probably day-to-day-ish or around there. But the Jags, like you said, they're 3-1. They're not the typical Jags team that we're used to seeing, right? In terms of recency bias, you look at the Jags on your schedule and you go, oh, might as well be a bye week, right? But this Jags team is a little different, I think. I think Liam Cohen really has his head screwed on. They beat the 49ers. I think that they have a relatively good squad. I think Travis Hunter is going to be a really cool piece, and I'm excited to see what he can do on the defensive side of the ball once he starts playing more and more snaps. Now, granted, how much of that is going to be split between offense and defense? We know that they started working him on offense first just to try to get the playbook down, and then they're going to work him in on defense where his natural and better position is. Honestly, I think he's a better defender than he is at the wide receiver spot, but that still doesn't mean that he's a bad wide receiver. He's still a good wide receiver. It's just he's that good of a cornerback. So it's going to be interesting to see for sure. So that's going to be a big time game coming up. And then, like you said, after that, you got Rashee Rice, who's going to be coming back. And I said before, it's a Ferrari sitting in the garage just waiting to hit the road.
Yeah, you wish you had Rice now.
Probably not a good metaphor. You understand what I'm saying, though.
You have at the Jags, and then you've got the Lions, so you don't have Rice for those, but then it'll be nice to be at full strength, and hopefully at full strength we could use a healthy season for everybody up and down the roster. Quick note, Monday Night Football last night, not a great slate, to put it lightly. 2 0-3 teams, Dolphins over the Jets, 27-21. Tyreek Hill, though, going to be out for the season after a bad knee injury. Really weird videos on social media of him smiling a lot. And perhaps he was just relieved that it wasn't a broken leg or anything like that. But some strange videos where Tyreek, his season's going to be done. And then the Broncos over the Bengals, 28-3. You just can't have the you can't have the Bengals on national TV at all.
No. Especially with Jake Browning as
They lost 48-10 last week against Carson Wentz, and now 28-3. That's a mess. I mean, Zach Taylor has had a lot of different lives, and the Burrow stuff has not helped him, but man, they're a disaster right now.
Yeah, the Bengals are an absolute disaster. They're a dumpster fire. I have T. Higgins on my fantasy team. I know everybody cares about my fantasy team. But yeah, the Bengals are an absolute dumpster fire. They have one of the worst defenses I think I've ever seen in my entire life, and that's including like college and high school. They are bad. Their defense is absolutely dreadful. The Broncos, by the way, are a good squad. There's no question in that, but they still struggled against like the Titans, right? So I think that the Broncos are a beatable team. And then in the Jets Dolphins game, you hate to see that with Tyreek Hill. I mean, former Chief legend, and he wound up. So apparently it didn't break. I against my will, I saw it. I go out of my way to not look at like these injuries, right? Like when Kevin Ware injury, the Paul George one in that USA scrimmage. I watched both of those live, and they scarred me for life. So anytime something like that happens, or if I'm not watching and I hear about it, I'm like, I'm not gonna watch it. Like, I'll have friends text me, they'll be like, "Did you see that?" No, and I'm not going to. Against my will, I was scrolling on Twitter today, and I wound up.
I have not
seeing
seen it.
You don't.
The Kevin Ware one is the worst.
Do
though,
yourself
I
a
guarantee
favor.
It. I won't.
Oh, that one. The Kevin Ware one was horrible. Do yourself a favor. Do not watch it.
Yeah, I won't.
When he, oh gosh, I don't even want to talk about it. Tyreek Hill, but thankfully, so after watching the video and after hearing about what it was, I understand that it's not a broken leg. It's not a broken anything. It was a dislocated knee, which after watching the video, it makes a lot more sense. Still tore his ACL, so that is obviously not good. And Tyreek Hill is what, 31 years old as of right now? I mean, he's not getting any younger, and he's known for his speed. And having this big of a setback this late in your career cannot be good. So it's going to be interesting to see. And I hate talking about this while guys are already injured, but it's going to be interesting to see whether or not the Dolphins are going to want to move on from Tyreek Hill and what his future kind of holds, right? I mean,
shout out to my sister who dislocated her knee 6 or 7 times, I think.
Dude,
painful.
I dislocated my knee once when I was a kid, and I slipped on some ice, and it was the worst day of my life.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
it was horrible.
With my sister, it got to the point where she had to pop it back in herself. She was like, "Oh, here we go again." It happens. Tough scene there. So yeah, Tyreek Hill going to be done for the year. Hey, after this, a couple more notes regarding KU athletics, and we're going to break down what happened in Week 5, Big 12 football. That's all coming up on Rock Chalk Sports. Thanks for listening to ESPN Kansas City and watching KansasNation.com.
This is Daniel Highshaw, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Welcome back live in the Kansas Nation studio for Rock Chalk Sports. Dan Courtwright, we are going to be out on remote on Friday. Tell us about Hy-Vee.
That's right. Thank you for bringing that up, Sean. Totally unprompted and not scripted whatsoever. We're going to be out at Hy-Vee on Friday in the Market Grill. You can get a $7 hot grab-and-go pizza, $8.99 chicken enchilada with Spanish rice. Some of the best food you'll ever have at Hy-Vee. We're going to be out there from 4 to 6 live doing our show. Going to be a lot of fun. Going to try to get a special guest on as well. It's going to be probably pre-recorded with a UCF guest. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, come out and say hi. We'll be doing some giveaways, give away some glasses and some shirts, different stuff like that. Swing by, tell Sean that Sean will be giving autographs, I believe, afterwards. Is that correct?
You know what? I think I can. I think no one wants that.
Okay.
No one wants that. But yeah, Hy-Vee, Clinton, and Castle. Come on by Friday. Live 4 to 6 show. Like Dan said, we're going to be having some swag and all sorts of stuff. And hey, you're there. You ran out of allergy pills.
Yeah.
You ran out of bananas. You need some frozen burritos.
By the way, Sean.
One-stop shop.
Sean, we were there. We got there early to set up. One time we were out at Hy-Vee. Sean just bought one single banana.
I don't know why that's weird.
You gotta buy it by the bushel.
I needed a snack.
That is so weird. I've never gone into a grocery store and the only thing that I've had is one single banana.
It's not like I took a grape out of the bag of grapes.
Sure, I understand. But did the person checking you out, were they like, "What are you doing?"
No, I think I got a banana and like a kind bar or something.
Okay, so you got something else.
Yeah,
too.
so
it wasn't just one banana.
True, it would have been
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not above it. It's like 24 cents. It's
Sure.
worth it. I need a
Fair
snack.
enough.
Hey, Jalen Daniels earlier today named to Jason Witten Collegiate Man of the Year watch list, one of 67 nominees for the 9th annual of the Jason Witten Award. Really cool. It's awarded to honor exemplary leadership by a college player. Not surprising for the Jayhawks leader, one of the Jayhawks captains, a 4-time team captain for Kansas football, Jalen Daniels, and he is the only Power 4 quarterback to start at least one game in all 6 seasons. So he's back for more, and he has been unbelievable on the field this year. 16 passing touchdowns and just 2 interceptions. Last year, he had 14 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. What a year he's put together. He's thrown for 1,262 yards. He also has been running the football as well. He totaled 500 total yards in the loss to Cincinnati on Saturday. Definitely would be in the Heisman conversation as well. Probably isn't to this point, not because of anything that's happened individually, just because the fact that KU's only 3-2. But if the wins start coming, JD keeps this up, he's going to be in that conversation as well. But not surprising that a great leader, one of the greatest leaders in the history of KU football, Jalen Daniels, named to the Jason Witten Collegiate Man of the Year watch list. list. KU volleyball, a couple big opportunities in conference this week, Dan.
Yeah, that's right. They're going to be taking on Texas they're heading to Texas to take on TCU and Baylor. Obviously, two teams who are very, very good. TCU right now, they're ranked number 12 in the nation. Baylor ranked number 15. Kansas right now sitting at number 18 in the nation. Going to be a tough road test down there in the Lone Star State. Obviously, KU, as of right now, they're 10-6. They're 1-1 in the Big 12. Going to be taking on TCU on Wednesday. That's going to be tomorrow at 6:30 in Fort Worth, and they're going to be heading to Waco on Friday to take on the Baylor Bears. Baylor's only 8-3, but they are 3-0 in conference play as of right now. That's going to be at 7 p.m. Central. You can watch both of those on ESPN Plus. Matt Ulmer and company. After that Arizona win, the Arizona State 5-setter once again just was not able to finish that one out. But now you have a chance to go on the road and beat two top 25 teams and really bring yourself back and gain some momentum heading into sort of what is the middle of conference play.
It's never been a concern that KU volleyball is going to fall out of the top 25 because they have been losing to
very good programs.
But I'm sure that some wins would feel good. Great opportunity, like we've talked about, and maybe a 5-set win mixed somewhere. As long as they end up with a couple victories in these matches in Texas, then Matt Ulmer and the KU volleyball players, I'm sure, will be very happy. But a lot of talent on this team, still working through some things. So interesting. I'm excited to ask Henry Greenstein tomorrow about the setting situation with two star setters and Kristen Klein and Katie Dalton, how that's going to look moving forward, because we've seen a lot of them so far this season. Yeah, KU volleyball have coverage of that coming up the rest of this week. Let's look at the Big 12 slate, just kind of officially end out week 5 of college football, and then we'll have more coverage of week 6 as the week goes on. Noteworthy games: Arizona State on Friday night won a big one against TCU. TCU was unbeaten, ranked number 24 in the country, and for the second straight week, Arizona State ends up with a 3-point victory, 27-24. Sam Levitt looked more like himself. Also on Friday night, Houston over Oregon State, 27-24. They barely survived against a team that is still winless. Yeah, had to go to overtime. But
hey, Oregon State, they're second place in the Pac-12 right now.
They're second in the Pac-12, second in the Pac-2. No joke. Of course, K-State over UCF, 34-20. That's the Wildcats' first conference win. Baylor goes down to Stillwater and really didn't have much of a problem against Oklahoma State, who's now 1-3, 45-27. Bears did kind of pull away from that one late. Utah blasts a downtrodden West Virginia team in Morgantown, 48-14. Number 14, Iowa State, another impressive win. They have not missed a beat all season. They're 5-0. They defeated Arizona and Ames 39-14. And then BYU, a little closer than anticipated maybe, but they take care of business in Boulder. Cougars are still in the top 25 as they knocked off Colorado by 3.
Yeah, and BYU, I think that Dion is still a really good coach, but they just don't have the personnel. As of right now, BYU could be a little fraudulent. I still think, as of right now, they're 4-0, so you can't really take them out of the ranking. They're 25 in the nation right now, but just to kind of, whip around this Big 12, right? Oklahoma State, they have two former Kansas coordinators at the helm right now. Doug Meacham, former Kansas offensive coordinator back in the David Beatty era. He is now the interim head coach. And then Clint Bowen, who former Lawrence High Chesty Lion legend, was the Chesty Lion head coach from last year, went to be sort of an analyst for Oklahoma State. Now he is the interim defensive coordinator. So excited to see local kid Clint Bowen see what he can do on the defensive side of the ball as well. I can't imagine they're going to be that good just because of the fact that they don't have the personnel there to be able to do it. But I like Clint Bowen as a person. I'm sure Doug Meacham is a relatively good good coach as well. Utah whooped up on West Virginia, like you said. They're looking absolutely legit. Probably the biggest surprise, I think, was K-State beating UCF, just because of the fact that I thought K-State was way worse than So it's kind of misleading, right? Because UCF absolutely killed North Carolina, and K-State, they have been really struggling against really, really bad teams. The only game that they had won prior to this was North Dakota, who's the second best team in North Dakota behind North Dakota State, an FCS program, and they barely beat them at the end of the game. So I thought K-State was going to wind up losing that game to UCF. Now, UCF, they had obviously some injury issues with their quarterback situation. So we'll see how that kind of shakes out, because UCF, I mean, you got to watch that film against Kansas State to see kind of, how they were running their offense, what Scott Frost has done, what different wrinkles has Scott Frost been able to implement into this game, as aside from, his tenure at Nebraska. We heard Coach DK talk about it a little bit. He said, basically he's been able to pull a lot of things from his time in the league, which is where he was I guess an analyst in the NFL, and was able to pull some different bubble screen type things and bring them with him to UCF in his second tenure at UCF. So it'll be an interesting game for sure. But again, not a whole lot of surprises other than the fact that Arizona State wound up beating TCU after scoring 10 in the fourth quarter. TCU scored none, and then Houston almost losing to Oregon in overtime was definitely one that we weren't really anticipating.
Yeah, Iowa State and Arizona State both 2-0. We've got 4 1-0 teams: BYU, Houston, Texas Tech, Cincinnati, who of course played their first game in the Big 12 here in Lawrence last week. Utah, Baylor, KU, and K-State are all 1-1. The 0-1 teams: Arizona, UCF, TCU, and Oklahoma State. And then Colorado and West Virginia are both 0-2. Colorado and West Virginia, wouldn't be surprised if they end up at the bottom of the league, along with Oklahoma State. But a lot to be determined. We are going to have all sorts of coverage regarding Week 6 of college football. 6:30 is going to be the kickoff on Saturday at the Acrisure Bounce House in Orlando. 5 o'clock, Crimson and Blue Show, Sports Radio 810. That's a cool name for a stadium.
Bounce
right?
House is it might be the best.
I mean,
I like the booth, but
yeah, I mean, you're used to the stadium or whatever you want to call field. A lot of stadiums, a lot of fields, and there's great nicknames, but it's actually called the Bounce House.
It's the second best in Florida because Florida International, Pitbull Stadium.
Pitbull, right. Exactly.
Can't forget about Pitbull Stadium.
Yeah, that is very true. Hey, we're excited for that on Saturday. Tomorrow we've got Henry Greenstein, KUSports.com, LJWorld.com, plus KU Mailbag. Find us on Twitter at The Kansas Nation. For Elijah Schmidt, running the production today, and Dan Courtwright, I'm Sean Kellerman saying we'll catch you tomorrow from 4 to 6, ESPN Kansas City, KansasNation.com.